Cheef report. This is a snowflake-free zone. Cheef report.
What's going on, everybody? This is your boy James Cheef, and I'm back at you with the Cheef Report. It's been about a week since I've been on here. Over the last week, I took last week off. I wanted to get my website in order and bring you guys some new articles. Lately, I've worked on a series about the Syrian civil war. I felt that was important because our men and women are overseas fighting these proxy wars, and most of the times we don't know who they're fighting, why they're fighting, or even who's fighting against them. So if you go to thecheefreport.com, you'll find that I have some articles up. The first 4 articles on my website, they're about the Syrian civil war. I start off talking about Syria in general, what caused the war, and then I go into a breakdown of each of the countries involved. I talk about us and, America's part in it. I also talk about Russia's part in it, as well as Iran's part. So those 4 installments of the series are up right now, and you really should check that out because I'm finding out that most people don't know the relationships that, for instance, Russia and Iran share with Syria. And it's very important that people know what's going on. And what really made me want to write the series is about 2 Saturdays ago, I sat down at my desk to start working, and I was pulling up different articles to write. And I saw something about a gas attack in Syria 2 Saturdays ago, and it didn't hit the news. At that particular time, the following Monday, actually, all the news was about Ukraine and Russia, the situation that they were in. And no one was talking about the gas attack. And what really struck me as peculiar about it is the fact that earlier in the summer, the Bush administration had started giving press releases about a false flag gas attack in Syria. Now, about a month before that, Russia was talking about a false flag gas attack in Syria. So you never hear states, countries talk about false flag attacks. If anything, here in America, when a false flag anything is brought up, the government, the media usually writes it off as conspiracy theory. So I found it real peculiar that they had been talking about a false flag gas attack, and about 2 months later, a month or 2 later, it happened. So I wanted to get that out there because I figured that the media was distracting people by talking about nothing but Russia and the Ukraine, because that situation has been going on for years, so it was nothing new. So I want to encourage everyone to go to thecheefreport.com and get up to speed on what we're doing over in Syria, because this is something that's going to affect us. I think it's going to get a lot worse before it gets any better. So do check that out. And tonight, I'm happy to say, Mike Pierce, the CEO and founder of the new conservative social network, Red Elephant, is joining me tonight. Many of you have probably seen me on Twitter talking about Red Elephant. It's a new social network that is geared towards conservatives having a place to go to speak freely without being shadow banned or totally banned. So check that out also. And actually, if you go and sign up for Red Elephant, if you use the promo code CHIEFMUG, they'll send you a free coffee mug. And the great thing about the Red Elephant social media platform is it's built by veterans, and also part of the proceeds will go towards the Wounded Warriors Foundation. So to me, that's real patriotism. You'll be able to fight censorship, and you'll also be able to help our wounded warriors. So without further ado, let me get the homeboy Mike Pierce on here. What's going on, Mike? How you doing? Good. Finally, I'm glad to finally meet you. Somewhat meet you. Hey, man, I thank you for the invite. It was kind of shocking when you approached me. I'm like, well, somebody's hearing me that wants to team up. So I greatly appreciate it, man. the fact that it's from the ground up, it feels like I'm starting with a family, and we're both doing it for the same reasons. We're tired of the censorship. We should be able to speak as freely as anyone, especially the veterans of this nation. So you're a veteran, also, correct? Well, I shouldn't say also. I don't want anybody to get it confused because I've had people that ask me, they thought I was a veteran. I'm not a veteran of the traditional sense. I did my combat in the streets of Gary, Indiana, so I'm not a military veteran. Yeah, because it was hard. Okay, great. I'm having some audio problems on with your setup. So trying to get that figured out to see what's going on. People are telling me that it's very low. I don't know why that is. So just give me a second, people. We're gonna get it figured out here. Yeah, I am working on it, Trisha. There's always something when it's a. Okay, I got you. I see what the problem is. Say something now, Mike.
Yeah, is everything okay now?
Yeah, we got you. We should have you. Can you guys hear him? Yeah, there's a little bit of time delay. I'm sure they could hear you now. There's so many volumes on this thing. So start back over talking about your time in the military.
Well, I was a operations specialist out of Oceana, NAS. I spent some time right before the right before Desert Shield started, and I was proud to do it. Our company is founded for myself, and I've got a vice president of data, Luke Jarvis, and Luke is a 4-year veteran. He's an MP. He was an MP in the Army, and so we both decided to start this Red Elephant as a to combat the social construct that's out there right now, especially with censorship and especially with not really getting that conservative voice out there.
Okay, so let's go back to the exact. What was there a particular incident that happened that you said, I'm tired of this, I have to start something to get the conservative voice out here? Was it a group of veteran friends? What was the linchpin that made you say, I'm definitely going to start this?
We're based out of Utah, and our company's based out of Utah, and we are Utah proud. Now, of course, you can tell by my accent, I'm not from Utah. I'm from the South, but I was very fortunate to be able to come out here for a position with a company. But the biggest thing was we were sitting around a group of friends of mine here, and we were just talking about the way that Twitter and some of the other social networks were really censoring the conservative voice. And we started talking a little bit, and I just said, hey, I said, what would it be worth to you to have a platform where your voice is heard, that also that you have the freedom of speech, and you also have the ability to say what you want to say without being censored or have the trolls that come around and just seem to squelch out the voice. And so that's how we developed Red Elephant. And we started in October, and so from October to now, I think we've done a really good job, and we continue to grow. And one thing I want to say, James, is this: we did not develop Red Elephant to be a Facebook or a Twitter. What we did here was we wanted to make sure that we have that voice out here, and we didn't do it for the money. We're doing it to have that voice and to have a like-minded people together have the voice that they need to be able to drown out some of the noise that's coming out of the left right now.
I'm glad you said something about the trolls because you have a pretty good way to keep the trolls from being a part of Red Elephant. So why don't you
Yes.
tell the people exactly what that is and how you expect that to keep the trolls away from Red Elephant?
Well, one of the things that we did as a group when Luke and I and our developer were talking about this site is we did not want to see fake ads or fake news or any of this type of thing. So we wanted to really monitor what was going on Red Elephant, and in order to do that, we felt like we need to come up with a one time fee, and we do a one time fee of $4.99, and that covers the cost of our administrative fee, and also, but we are a tier one. We're a tier one contributor for the Wounded Warrior Project, like you said, and what we do with that 4.99 is that contributes that part of that money goes towards that contribution towards the Wounded Warrior Project. So we wanted to partner with people that are like-minded, like we are, and that we're going to put our money where our mouth is, and that's what we're going to do.
Okay, now let's get into your mission statement.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I have a screenshot of your mission statement that I'm going to pull up. And why don't you talk about that a little bit?
Well, like I said, it says, to provide a community where true patriots can gather together, support our veterans, stand for our flag, and help defend our country from the radical values of certain groups plaguing this great country, all without fear of being censored or retaliated against. And that's exactly what we mean, and that's exactly what we are. We want to be the platform where people come to feel at home and be able to say what they want to say. Be able to have a constructive conversation instead of being squelched down by the radical left. And we will not tolerate, I'll tell you this, we will not tolerate any kind of a radical form of either left nor right being on this site. But especially from the center left, we will not tolerate the trolls and the just the negativity that seems to come around with Twitter and some of the other social constructs.
Now, have you gotten any pushback from anyone, whether it be current social media platforms or even the app markets? Because I remember I asked you if you had an iPhone app coming out, and you said you were, and that was kind of surprising because I've been hearing how much Apple has been taking people's apps away or keeping people from having apps, especially if they're conservatives. So did you get any pushback about your site and your media network?
We haven't yet, but one thing that I will say is this, that once we started the site, the first couple of weeks that we were in test mode, and also once we launched the site, we were hacked twice. And we did get our firewalls. We really beefed up our firewalls, and we also made sure that we have. And it came out of California. We know exactly where the hack came from. I don't really want to say. I don't want to give them the air of time, but right. We know where it came from. It did happen, and we fixed it. We don't have to worry about that anymore. So far as the Apple and the Android apps, we have everything loaded up to them right now. There is no bugs in our system, so they don't have any reason not to give us the app. But the app is ready for them to release and give us our certificates.
Okay, so how long do you think it'll be before the official app comes out? And do you also have one for the Google Android store?
Yes, we do. We have Google, Android, and Apple. It should be by Thursday of this week. Everything's been turned in. So if it comes out sooner, we'll definitely let everyone know off our Twitter followers, and also your followers. And we've done a lot of work on it over the weekend. You and I talked a little bit over the weekend, and there were some things. One thing I want to tell your listeners is this: you're not talking to just an abstract person out there. When you get on the Red Elephant, I'm the first person that's going to friend you. And I'm going to be the first person that actually friends you. It's not just a bot doing it for you.
Right. And I think that's great because people can't talk to Jack and Zuckerberg, but you're right there interacting with people, and that's a real good thing.
And one thing I want to say, too, is our Twitter feed is me. I don't have anybody hiding behind a Twitter feed. This is me. If you go on and read our our tweets for Red Elephant, this is my thoughts, my project, and my company, and I stand behind everything that we say and everything that we do. And that's another thing that kind of sets us a little differently from the rest is you're going to get a welcome letter from me personally signed, and you're also going to get a window decal for free coming to you from us. And and like I said, we're doing some certain things for new members all along, and to try to get the word out there that there's a value to the $4.99. You know what I'm saying? It's not just we're not just here to try to take your money. But the thing is we're trying to make a value for what it is, and but also so that we can continue to run and not have the ads that tend to inundate you in other sites.
Right. And to me, the $5 is worth just keeping trolls away because they are so damn annoying. So I mean, I mean, $5 to not be shadow banned, take a risk on getting banned for something you say, and then to not have to be worried about trolls. I mean, that's what it's all about. And especially the fact that part of the proceeds go to the wounded warriors. I love that, and I'm quite sure everyone else does. What type of reaction have you been getting from the veteran community?
Nothing but positive. Like I said, we want to promote that we are. We do stand proudly for this flag. A lot of us have had blood, sweat, and tears for this flag, and I know it's not just a symbol. To me, I make sure that my boys I have 5 boys, and all 5 of my boys understand the value and what sacrifices go when that flag is raised, and that's one of the reasons why we wanted to make sure that the veterans were looked after. We understand that it's a hard time when people come back from hot zones and they don't have the support they need. So that's what we are here for. And we're just starting. This is just a start. I mean, if there is a localized need that's out there, then there's nobody else but me that has to say yes or no, and we will come charging for that need.
So you're not just a social media network, you're a social network in the sense that it's not just about people being able to voice their opinion. You're also being active within the veteran community and also the community on Red Elephant.
That is correct, yes.
Okay. Now, how hard was it to set this up? Because it seems like every time I would mention to someone there needs to be a new social network, and people make it seem like it's just so hard. You see some of the millionaires on Twitter, the actors and things like that could have pulled money together and done the same thing that you're doing. So how difficult was it to set up a new social media platform, but especially for conservatives?
One of the it was very difficult in the planning stages. We wanted to make sure that we had the right platform, that we had that it was easy to access, and we're still working on that. We still have some things that we want to work out to make it a lot easier. But it took knowing some of the people that I do know that I've networked with over the years. I've been in the business world for going on 30 years now, and once I started networking, I was able to find a developer that was absolutely knockout person and has the same like mind as I do, and what the company was, the vision that the company has. And she was absolutely ecstatic to do it for us. And we made her a part owner of the company. And so she has a stake in the success of this platform. So she's the one that developed it. We actually just came out, the 3 of us, and just had a bunch of video calls and saying, hey, this is where I'd like to see. This is what I'd like to do. Because I am no developer. What I am is I'm the idea guy. But
I laugh. I laugh because I try to just be the idea guy, but then I find myself developing everything.
Hey, I'm learning and learning every day. I can tell you,
That's what
and
it takes.
it is, and that's one of the things. That's we don't have a bunch of engineers sitting back here targeting people. We're just out here being who we are, doing what we do, and we're trying to get this thing from the grassroots and move it up, and it's doing well. We are well surpassed where I thought we would be right now, and like I said, people like yourself that have really helped us and support us have really been the absolute key to our success right now, and that's one of the things. Humbly, I want to say thank you.
Hey, thank you for asking me to be a part of it. I thank God for you because we need it. Um, it's amazing what you're doing. You make it seem effortless, and that's how I know your heart is in the right place and you're going about it the right way. So thank God for you because I'm looking at the comments on here, and people are very happy that there's someone doing what you're doing. I can't say some of the things they're saying on the air, but let's just say they like you better than they like Jack.
Well, I can tell you, like I said, it's one of those things where coming from a Southern upbringing and coming from the time frame that I came from, it's totally different time than it is right now. But the thing is, we need to get back to where our moral compass is, where it should be. And I'm not here to preach by no means, but the thing is, that's what I want to make sure that our company does is that golden rule: do unto others as you have them do unto you, and also make sure you treat people with respect, and you want to be treated with respect. So
yes, sir.
That's what our company is founded on. That's what it's going to be founded on, and that's exactly how we're going to operate.
Now, where do you stand politically?
I'm pretty right, brother. I'm pretty right.
Okay.
I voted for Trump, and I'm a proud Trump supporter. I have a signed autographed picture of Trump on my credenza from where I was able to meet him when he flew out here to Salt Lake City to sign the amendment for Bears Ears and with Orrin Hatch. And I am very good friends with quite a few of the government entities out here. The AG and the governor himself, and the assistant governor and lieutenant governor, and a lot of the other elected officials out here in Utah. So I am a member of the Elephant Club for the GOP in Utah.
Okay.
And like I said, I practice what I preach.
Is there any chance that you can get Orrin Hatch to stay in the Senate? Because we definitely need him.
I would certainly hope so. I tell you, I didn't vote. I did not vote for his predecessor. I'll put you that way.
He was like the only adult in the room most of the time.
Amen. And I tell you, I got to meet Orrin personally at the GOP victory party that they had here this past few weeks ago, and I couldn't ask for a nicer, humbling man to meet personally. Than that man right there, and he like you said, right? He demanded respect, and he got it from me. I can tell you.
Yeah, Orrin Hatch is good people. So you're a veteran, and you see these proxy wars that we're involved in, whether it's Yemen, Syria, and only God knows where else, because they don't tell us anymore where all we're fighting at. How do you feel? Let's start with the war in Syria. I'm quite sure that you've heard the same things that I've heard, the same things my research has pulled up as far as the last administration was basically supplying ISIS with weapons and funding them with finances. So how do you feel about the Syrian civil war and the role that the United States is playing, well, as far as the Obama administration, and do you think that we're still playing that same role? Because there was at one time President Trump wanted to pull out of Syria, and the next thing you know, there's this gas attack, which that seems as backwards to me. It doesn't make sense that Assad would drop chemical weapons right after President Trump says, hey, I'm thinking about pulling out of here. So how do you feel about what's going on in Syria, and am I incorrect about anything that I've said?
No, honestly, I did read your series this past weekend, and I'm going to tell you it was very in depth and very informative. One thing that I will say is I don't know all the details of what President Trump might know or Mattis may know, but what I will say is this: there is I do believe that we set up a lot of these wars in order to profit from them. And I do believe that if there's anybody that can clean this up, we got him in the White House right now.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you for 8 years before him, we actually absolutely put our heads in the sand and had our rear ends up.
That's a nice way of saying it. Yeah, you got that right.
And that's the reason why I'm saying I've got a son that's fighting right now. Well,
Really?
he's not fighting, but he's able to go in if he needs to go in. And what concerned me the most, James, was North Korea, because with him being in Yokosuka, Japan, and on one of the largest naval bases there, I can tell you that by far that absolutely scared me more than anything. And for President Trump to be able to do what he's done so far, and has really has made me feel much better about the way that he conducts his business.
Okay. Now, how do you feel that we've gone from fighting conventional wars to now we're fighting proxy wars? We're no longer fighting a nation's military straight up. Now we're fighting Hezbollah. We may be fighting the Houthis. It may be ISIS. So there's all these proxies. And it seems to me that the new face of war, the new style of fighting war today is the proxy war. Do you think there will ever be a time where it'll be conventional war, where it's nation against nation, or do you think that it's going to be like this from now on, at least for the near future, that it's going to be about proxy wars? And for the people that don't understand what a proxy war is, it's when a nation will utilize what they may call rebel fighters, such as ISIS or the Houthis. And in a sense, it's a way to keep our soldiers out of harm's way. But at the same time, we have to be careful about who we're funding and who we're arming. So how do you feel about going from conventional war to proxy wars now?
Well, I can tell you, I'd much rather know who my enemy is. And right now, it's hard for us to find out who our enemy is. We just buried a colonel here out here in Utah that was the mayor of North Ogden. And because he was killed by one of the people that he was actually training, actually best friends with over in Afghanistan. And that was a sad state of affairs and a sad day. But I would much rather know who our enemy is. And if our enemy is going to be a country, have our enemies be the country. Because right now it's so diluted that when our boys and girls go over there and young ladies go overseas, I really worry that they know exactly who they're fighting, because they don't.
Yeah. Who do you view as the biggest threat? For years now, I've been saying it's Iran. A lot of people feel it's North Korea. Some even say China. I don't really think China's too much of a threat unless it's our intellectual property that they like to thieve. But who do you feel? I'm serious, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm quite sure when you started looking at software and servers and different things and you saw the price of them, you were like, damn.
Yeah. Yeah. They're definitely not cheap. But
No.
I will say this, that I believe that Iran by far is our biggest threat. I think that China does not want North Korea and America at arms or in an arm's length anymore, and that's simply because of the trade. And so I don't really feel like little Kim is the issue. I really believe that the mullahs and all them out there in Iran are the ones that are going to be the problem, because as soon as we start cutting back on that funding, which is actually what we're doing, which should have never happened to begin with, you're going to start seeing them develop that nuclear weapon that they've been working on for years. That John Kerry kept his head in the sand, his rear end up, and actually sold us a bill of goods that we should have never been, should have been a part of. But honestly, that was the Obama administration MO, was indoctrinate, 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 and to
Yeah.
make our country um, just as dependent on them as they are on us.
Yeah, and regime change. Did you hear about the test launch that Iran? I guess they carried out a missile test over the weekend. Did you hear about that?
No, I didn't. I didn't hear
Yeah,
about it.
supposedly they carried out a test missile launch. It's really not a surprise. What I find, well, I won't say amazing, but what strikes me when it comes to the Syrian civil war and even Iran's involvement, Assad's fear was that what happened in Iraq to Saddam Hussein would have happened to Assad. And this was all along, well, all the while, Obama. I want to call him Okuku so bad, and I keep trying to catch myself from not calling him that on the air. That's why
Well,
I keep stuttering.
that's pretty tame to what I like calling him, but I can tell you.
So do you think, especially under Obama, that Assad had a legitimate fear that after Iraq, we would have been going after his country?
I do believe so, but not with Obama. I don't believe Obama. I mean, I really do believe that the Obama administration did very little, if anything, in the Middle East to make anything, any kind of threats or anything of that nature. I think he just appeased a few of his constituents that wanted to make sure that we had some, we had a few troops out there that kind of policed the area, and he pretty much let them go roughshod. If you think about it, he didn't do a whole lot to help out that area at all.
Yeah, I think it was more so Crooked Hillary and John Kerry that were instituting the regime changes most of the time. I think Obama, he probably didn't know much of what was going on. He just seemed so clueless half of the time, like he didn't know a damn thing.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me one bit. I mean, that's an empty suit if there ever was one.
Yeah. Now,
So,
how do you feel about the fact that we lost the House after these midterms, which we shouldn't have lost? There was a lot of complacency. Voter turnout was very low for the Republicans, which is scary. We lost a lot of independents, especially women, college-educated women, black urban women. We lost. How do you feel about losing the House? I think that there's going to be a lot of political gridlock. I think it's going to be the Commie-crats are going to spend most of their days with these investigations. What do you think is going to happen over the next 2 years politically?
I think you're absolutely correct. It's going to be nothing but gridlock, and you're going to have Nancy Pelosi trying to dig up anything she can on anybody in the Trump administration right now. But to say even more than that, the Republican voter can't support when there's there's all these other votes that are coming in after the election.
Yeah.
And I really believe that one thing that we really need to focus on is the way that we conduct our voter registrations and the way that we conduct our votes on actual the day of voting. I can tell you this: up until a few years ago, I always was able to go to the polling place, in November and vote. I didn't have to wait for it to come in my mail or to have these mass drives. The Democrats are always good, always very good at generating votes, whether they're dead, whether they're not. But I'm just saying, I think that the Republicans were outnumbered simply due to the fact that some of it, in certain areas, I really believe that there was a lot of voters. They talk about voter suppression.
Yeah.
I think it was a lot of voter oppression.
Yeah. Wait, so were you saying you had to wait for something to come in the mail before you could vote?
Yeah, out here in Utah, it's all mail in. We get it here. It comes in as a mail in ballot,
Really?
and we sign it. Oh yeah, and we sign it. Or you can go to the polling place. I just chose to do that here, but I've always wanted to go in and up until this past year, go in and vote, because I felt like that's my civic duty to go in and do it. The thing is with California. We lost so many seats in California, but they do all the voter collection out there, and that shouldn't be legal at all. I mean, a person should be able to go vote. Now, I understand that they.
What's scary about California is they're allowing illegals to vote in school board votes and things like that. So the indoctrination is just going to get worse. I don't even know what to say about California because I look at the voter turnout, and when I look at those numbers and I contrast that with everything I hear on Twitter about this is our year, we're getting rid of the Democrats, we're going to take it over, red wave, and then I look at the voter turnout, it really pisses me off because I'm like, what could compel a Republican to not go vote for the midterms?